Hey guys, Rexasaur here, and welcome to, I was about to say Update Monday, but it's Patch Notes, woo, on the 8th of April 2025. Boop, boop, boop. I don't know what's happening. What is it? I know exactly what's happening. Anyway, so I'm currently dealing with landlord frustration maximum. Last week I might have spoken about, I can't remember what I speak about in a week-by-week basis. Might have spoken about the fact that we've had a maintenance issue in our lovely abode. Our oven and hob had broken. They repaired the hob but not the oven. That is now fixed. They have replaced a part in our 75-year-old oven, which means that in 4 months it'll have to replace the oven rather than just replace the oven. That is beside the point. The point is, for the time period where we didn't have an oven or a hob, where we couldn't make food, there is a clause in our contract that states that for a period where a dwelling, which is where we live, is not habitable, we don't have to pay rent. I sent an email advising that I would be using this clause for that time period because it took 7 days for anything to happen. And they've been chasing us for this arrears, of course. So I gave a little call this morning to be like, the fuck's this? I stated that I need to do this, and I forgot. I'm a tenant. I have no rights. Ugh. Just learned that I need my landlord to approve the fact that I'm not paying rent for that period for this reason, which means, knowing our landlord, who has been incapable for the period of our time being here, probably not going to sign off on losing out on 300 quid or something, or whatever the fuck it is. I think it is 271. I know how much it is. So incredible. Once again, the UK government's renting and landlord rights pave the way towards a better future and living quality for its residents. So, fun. That's what's going on in my life in adult world. Fuck me. Anyway, enough of that frustration. I hope that's a glimmer of... I know everyone watching this has had a similar situation at some point in their life, I'm sure. Whether that's specifically for those living in the UK, probably very similar in a tenancy landlord situation. But those of you outside the UK, probably something similar in some kind of like aspect where a corporate conglomerate bullshit contract is like, well, actually, clause 75 states. So, hey ho, real cool. Anyway, what else is happening in my life? So, it's been a D&D centric thought window at the moment with me. I have been focusing a lot on D&D related stuff. So, with my Sunday crew, the Ringers, we continued. We had a really good session. It was like a boat combat, which was really fun, and then leading into they've landed on an island to perform some repairs, but also is one of 10 treasure islands that have been created specifically because one of the players bought 10 treasure maps, and then I was like, I'm going to spend today making treasure maps. Didn't really take all that long, but it was fun to come up with ideas and stuff. And to make it easier, I've kept it very loose. So now that they're on the island, I can actually do the preparation of what they will face on the island. I have a loose idea for every island. But what's really nice is that I can sort of just leave it until they generate it, until they get to the island, and then be like, this is what's happening. So that's going to happen. It's not going to happen for another 3 weeks. Or 3 weekends, I should say. Because this weekend my wife is doing a half marathon, which means we're not available, and then the weekend after is Easter, which means a bunch of people aren't available, so it'll be the next one over. The other thing, and I spoke about this last week, and I was a bit dejected, I think, about the way that the D&D group is going, the direction that the campaign is heading, and since then I've had several conversations with several people within the group, and then I preambled the Sunday session with the fact that the following session we'll be doing a mid-campaign session 0. So this is my longest running campaign for like ever. I have run many campaigns, but they've been smaller, they've ended sooner, and but this is the longest continual running campaign, which means I've learnt a lot. throughout the time that this has been happening, and things have changed. And I think it's important to put it out there for those of you DMing that to consider a mid-session, a mid-campaign session 0. It wouldn't be, it's called a session 0 just because of the thing that'll be discussed. But effectively, the idea is just to discuss where the campaign is right now, where everyone wants it to go, and what we can do better. I sent out a message, basically, well, it was preemptive. Yesterday, one of the players reached out to me and was like, I'm going to, because they don't feel comfortable talking to everyone about this. They just want to tell me as the DM. So they listed me out a bunch of stuff. And I was like, okay, well, actually, this makes more sense. So I sent that out to all the players. A few of them got back to me. I'm still waiting on a few. Once I have them all, then I will be... Effectively, this session 0 is going to be more of a, this is what you guys have told me, this is what I plan on doing, do you guys agree, and whatever. And it's quite interesting, like, information gathering for that. But it's very interesting. Not to give away too much, I don't want to discuss all these points because I'm still waiting on people, but for those responses that I have had, it's quite interesting how aligned everyone is. It's almost as if everyone agrees about what the problem is. And I don't think everyone, the solutions-ish that they've given to me have some merit, but are not the direction that I would like to take it. So, which is why I want to wait for everyone to get back to me so that I can discuss what we can do, what's going on. But that's big D&D DM behind the scenes thought process. I have already come up with 2 possible solutions. One of them is inspired by my interactions and how we run our Vaesen, because I feel like there's a certain mechanic that we use in Vaesen that will work nicely based on what the players have told me. So that should be fun. In my other group, my Monday group, they are dungeon crawling. They've got their crampons on and they are rushing through, except that they are rushing through in the... There's a trope in D&D which is never split the party. And guess what my players have done? That's right, they split the party. But not only have they split the party in a dungeon, and both groups have interacted with a creature, a monster, an encounter. So, both of them are going to have to deal with that independently from one another. They might have spells that allow them to teleport from one to the other, but yeah, not going too well for that. It's fun though. No, they should be able to make it. It's just going to be really tough fights because the fights I put in mind are for the full party, not 2 halves of a party. So we'll see if they can make it through it. We had a really cool moment where the paladin basically has a bunch of really good spells that are very rarely used in D&D. Or at least I've never personally seen them. I don't think anyone's ever played a paladin in my group. So this is like I think the first proper paladin. I think my brother played a paladin briefly, but it was still low level. So this is quite a high level paladin, and we've been seeing them do a bunch of really cool spells, which either have been completely negated just because they fought a ghost, which can't get charmed, so that kind of fucked the effects. But on the other side, this other creature lives in like a magical poisonous stream thing, and they got detect poison and disease, which is a spell I don't think I've ever seen played, and it would have worked perfectly, but other things have happened, which meant that she couldn't get full bonus of that. But it was a really, really cool moment where I was like, as a DM, like, oh shit, this could actually get them out of trouble. So yeah, really, really cool. But yeah, those 2 fights really, really fun. We'll see what happens. They're still in the middle of them. And yeah, and that campaign's going great. Yeah, I like in the dungeon crawl. I think the players probably prefer the big dungeon crawl methods at the moment. There was a bit of role playing. I think I'm going to focus less on the role play and more on the dungeon crawl aspect for this group, or the fights, I should say, in general. Especially when we get into the ship encounters, of which I think I'm going to change the way that I run my ship encounters. Not hugely, but I think I'm going to change the way that the cannons work and the weapons in general, because I don't think D&D does it well. I don't think that it's very easy to put ship combat into D&D in the first place. So I think I'm just going to make a slight alteration here and there. My intention is, obviously, a lot of ships have lots of guns. And right now the way it works is that based on the amount of guns that you have, you fight each one individually. And I think that that is fucking awful. And doesn't really pertain to how ship combat works, like how it worked in real life. Obviously, D&D is not a real life simulator, but ships would fire off cannons, like 30, 40, 50 guns, depending on the size of your ship. And it would take 6, 10, 20 volleys to destroy a ship. Mostly the ship itself would not be sinking. It would be the crew would be decimated, or the sails would be decimated, or the ship itself would more often than not be damaged beyond repair and then scuppered, or would sometimes you hit the magazine and it explodes, or the ship itself wouldn't sink very rarely, especially in that time period of the Age of Sail. But in D&D, I don't want to fire 19 guns separately and roll damage each time, especially when cannons deal 8d10 damage, and a regular ship hull is like 400 hit points. Like, you only need 5 hits, basically, to average out like enough to really almost kill it, especially if you get some crits in there. So, I don't like that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mass all the cannons together. So it'll be like you have 2 cannons, but it's 2 cannons of, like, say you got 20 on each side. So your cannons will be, you roll your d20 plus whatever your aim is, and then it'll be 8d10 plus 20 because you've got 20 cannons doing a minimum damage. That way you fire less, but you have more damage. And I think, not really. The damage is definitely reduced, actually, significantly, but it's not reduced. A ship with 40 cannons is going to do more average damage than a ship with 20, for example. It means that the combats will last slightly longer. I'm also going to drastically increase the hit points of certain hulls, so that players and enemies will focus more on sails and crew. There is also an element that I want to add in terms of crew damage, but I don't know really how I'm going to do that yet. At the moment, what I'm doing is basically the hull kind of represents the crew, and then certain ones of my players in the ship combat doing spells like fireballs, ice storms, wall of ice, which do damage to a ship, but really what they do is really wreck the crew, and I feel like there needs to be a representation of that. Like, cannon shots through the hull, yeah, it's going to kill crew, but it's not really going to do enough to really stop a ship in its tracks. So things like spells, things like mangonels, actually using mangonels, it does damage to the ship, sure, but I think it should be more of the damage is actually more to the crew, especially if you have like a big explosion attack rather than a just devastating, I got hit by a rock attack. It's just things that I'm thinking about. And it also might go to the head of maybe creating things like a flamethrower or some kind of magical like sludge missile, or things like that change a little bit of how combat works in D&D to make it less Age of Sail-y but still more Age of Sail-y-ish. That made sense. Anyway, that's that. In terms of painting, I did a bunch of painting last weekend. I did some more of my cavalry. Things are going well. It's not that I hate cavalry, but it's a lot that you need to do for one model, basically. I feel like there's just a lot. There's this aspect of I really enjoy doing monsters because, or say my Tyranids, they're very large and they don't, compared to a horse, for example, you've got a big block Tyranid or a horse. But the thing with the horse is that you have the horse, the rider, and then you have like the armor on the horse, you've got the tabard on the horse, you've got the hooves, you've got the fur, you've got the reins, you've got the saddle, you've got the tail, And then you've got the guy on top, you've got his shield, you've got his armor, you've got his sword, you've got his emblems. Whereas the Tyranid, you've got the skin, the carapace, the claws. And that means that it's much easier to do the Tyranid, despite the fact that it's like 3 times the size in terms of plastic. So, yeah. So I did 10 horsemen. It took me all day. I enjoyed it. It was fine. It's also not really models that I particularly care about. Like, I'm literally just painting them to progress through my paints, sort of unpainted models. And it's nice. It's really nice when I walk past my shelving to now see, it's like, oh god, like half of these are now done. Amazing. But it doesn't have the same kind of like, man, these models are amazing and I love them. It's more like, I have these models to fill out an army role, which I'm no longer using because I'm not playing Bretonnia at the moment, so don't really care. Also, so yeah, it's not, doesn't have the same impact as when I went past like my Space Marine army that I brought to a tournament, where it was like my tournament army fully painted, my Chaos Warriors fully painted before my wedding, and I was really, really proud of them, really great. I was like, yes, this is good. Also, they're just really fun models to paint. These feel more like, not quite a chore, but along that line of, they don't have the same punch as I would like them to do. Part of that reason is because I would really like to paint my High Elves. The issue with that is, it's been really sunny, but it's too windy to do spray, which means I've not been able to finish spraying all of my High Elves, which I have sprayed 2/3 of them. So I could start on the ones that I have sprayed, but I kind of want to focus solely on them, so I just get through them all. The other thing is I haven't decided on an army scheme yet. I've been playing around. I've got a bunch of old High Elf models which were sprayed, and I've been doing kind of like scheming, so figuring out what I want and what looks good. I originally wanted to do a pink, and it kind of doesn't really work. It doesn't feel pink enough. It doesn't give it what I want. Then there was like a purplish thing, but it looks too much like a dark elf, and it's like, I don't want to play dark elves, I want to play High Elves. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do white and blue because that's just generic, and also white is really difficult. But what about like a lighter grey or a dark grey, and then some other colour? And I found like this grey and red thing, and I'm like, maybe I could just do this grey and then multicolour depending on what like rank these people are, for example. But then I'm like, man, these people look like 1980s like kung fu masters from the movies, just because of like they basically look a little bit like inverted Mortal Kombat Scorpion and Iceman, or whatever the fuck he was called. So it was, I don't know, I still haven't come up with a scheme, but I don't want to just do red, because I do red on everything. I love red, I love blue as well, and the thing is, they're the only 2 colours that I have. I could do green, I guess, but then I could do green, I guess. What have I got that's green? I guess my Bretonians, they're not really green though. The Green Knight is green, but that's because he's the Green Knight. Yeah, I don't know. Basically, that's my conundrum, is I don't really know, but maybe I should try green. I haven't done green. The thing is, the issue that I have with green is that a lot of my first ever army were Tau. I know, I'm an awful person. They're gone now. They've been sold off. But the first paints that I did with them were green. It was Dark Angels green at the time, with some like blues and reds. To like highlight little things here and there. They were not painted great, they were awful. And then it kind of evolved into, Dark Angels green and then Snot green at the time. These are all the paint names, FYI. And there was some other green, Absolution green? I think that's what it was called. And it worked really well together, but I was like, okay, well, but although this works well together, but it looks shit. Mostly because I was 12 and couldn't paint. And now I'm 30 and still can't paint. Anyway, so maybe I could do green. I have a bunch of green. I do really like green. The thing is, my chaos are in a weird place where I have a bunch of greens and reds because I'm Nurgle and Khorne. So, but maybe that's the way to go. Maybe I'll just do green elves. But it kind of makes sense. But then they're like, are these wood elves? But then, what isn't? I could do like Avalorn as a faction. since I am going to be using Sisters of Avalon, maybe that's what I do. Maybe green is the way forward. Anyway, you've just come up and listened to me have this deciding factor there. Let's move away from painting and Warhammer for the meantime, although on Saturday I'm going up to Richards with my friend Cameron's and we're going to do a really cool thing there where I'm going to watch them both fight each other and I'm going to have a great time doing it. I'm probably not going to bring anything. I might bring something. Maybe. I don't know. I might bring, I don't know. I haven't decided that yet, but yeah, that'll be fun. Tomorrow, I believe we have Vaesen. Andrew, if you are watching this, please advise. Although I will probably be asking you the question earlier if I have remembered, which I probably won't. I have work to do, so we'll see. But I think we have Vaesen tomorrow. So that should be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. We ended in a really cool place, so I'm looking forward to the resolution of that. Video game-wise, I have uninstalled Skyrim and removed all the mods. I kind of just got tired of it. And that is also because I finally, after 2 years, watched Patrician TV's A Quick Retrospective Skyrim. There were 2 videos. I'd already watched Act 1 before, but I never watched Act 2, which is the second video of the 2. So I rewatched Act 1 and 2. I watched it in like 2 days. And I think I completely... there are parts of it that I don't agree with, but parts of it that I really do, and it's fair. I play a lot of Skyrim for the modability of it, and I think a lot of people play it for mods. But fundamentally, Skyrim in itself is not a great game. Fundamentally, mechanically, especially, it's really not good. And the issue is that with Elder Scrolls game, it doesn't really matter that the mechanics aren't super great because a lot of it is the story and world building. And I think I agree completely with what he was saying in that the world building aspects in terms of just the visuals and looking at places and getting lost in Skyrim is one of the funnest things ever in video games. It's just so fun. You find random stuff, it looks beautiful, it's just great. The issue is that mechanically it's shit and the story makes no sense and is also really shit. It just is. The storytelling is just not there. And then there was a part in the ends, like it literally took 20 hours to get to this point, but the Skyrim and Bethesda Softworks team that worked on Skyrim didn't have any writers. They didn't have any dedicated writers. They had quest makers, but they had no writers. And I'm like, this is why has this taken me so long to realize that was the issue? Get writers for your games, guys, because writers know what they're doing, and then they make a game actually fun to play through and the story really relevant. Because the thing with Skyrim is that, yeah, it has cool visuals and moments, but it has no good writing. And the writing that there is doesn't make any sense if you give it more than a bit to think about it. I still think that Skyrim was amazing when it came out because it was in an era where there wasn't really that many great alternatives. But when you look at it from a mechanical, fundamental level, it came out November 2011, and GTA 5 came out like a year later. And GTA 5 has a lot of different mechanics in it that work amazing and look amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I'm currently playing through GTA 5 Enhanced, but I am. And I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, it has dated a little bit, quite a bit. But the writing's great. It's just really good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm also really enjoying just the feel of the game. It's been so long since I've played it as well. I just thought, Enhanced has come out, let's just give it a go. I'm just going to be playing the story because that's all I want to do. And it's so far really fun, really encapsulating. There are moments where you're a little bit like I just did the torture part between Michael and Trevor, and that was really uncomfortable to perform. If anything shows that I am a fucking lawful good idiot, the torture scene in GTA making me uncomfortable is one of those ways. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing in my gaming thing. Uninstall Skyrim, install GTA 5. I'm still in 2012. Oh god. That's 13 years ago. Fuck. Yeah. That is that. Yeah, I can't think of anything else that's been going on really. I'm looking up at my calendar. Got Blood on the Clock Tower tonight. That's going to be really fun. Yeah, that's about it. I'll see you next week, I guess. Next week's going to be a short week for me. I've only 3 days, because it's bank holiday, it's Easter, and also I took the Thursday off to go on a big walk, so that'll be fun. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you around next time.